Okay, announcements. June 6th at 7 p.m. is the virtual graduation. Info can be found on our website and our Facebook page and other social media outlets. Again, that's June 6th at 7 p.m. That is our virtual graduation. June 25th, 2020 is the regular board meeting at 6:30 p.m. And as discussed earlier this evening, we will hold that as a combined in-person and virtual board meeting. And that will be at Fairfield High School, Catherine D. Milligan Community Center. Okay, board member comments. We'll start with Mr. Begley.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure several of the board members spent more time at the graduation ceremonies than me and can speak more eloquently to it, but I certainly, for one, was impressed. I did a drive-by by the stadium and listened for a while and watched, and then Friday night when there was some inclement weather, I came inside and participated a little bit there and watched that, and Billy and Bill and all involved did a tremendous job, and I thought it was just a great touch to have the voice of Fairfield, right, Mr. Massey, who does the football games and does our graduation ceremonies, sit through all that as well and read out all those names so that each of our students had the same experience or nearly the same experience they could have if we had gathered as a large group. Beyond that, I certainly want to recognize Jen Mott for her efforts on behalf of our students while she was here as an assistant principal. That's really a big role, an important job, and I'm super excited about Mr. Sanders stepping into that role. He'll have a tremendous impact on our students, and he'll do a tremendous job. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Begley. Mrs. Gundrum.
I just want to congratulate all of the seniors who graduated. I want to congratulate the administration for doing such a great job, trying to bring as much normality to the situation as they could, given the events that have taken place since the pandemic started. I know I saw a lot of positive feedback online from people who were happy that they still got to, their kids still got to experience that graduation in any form with everything going on. I also want to thank everybody who donated to the Flock the Yard program. That was really neat to see. And I think Mrs. Gunn Mitchell organized it, and that was just such an amazing idea. And it was great to see, the community come together and try to do something to recognize our seniors.
Thank you, Mrs. Gundrum. Mrs. O'Neill.
I too, I've said it before that I wanted to thank everybody involved in the graduation. I have normally pretty high expectations. And if you would have asked me before the event, if I would have been fulfilled, or if it would have provided me with all the emotions as a parent of a senior that I was hoping to have, I would have said no, but it completely did. It was incredible. I heard so many, I was there, I think 3 of the 4 days. And I heard so many parents that would walk by with their kids and say the same thing, that this was amazing and better than regular graduation. And I especially want to thank Mr. Massey as well. He was there round the clock. And that was the moment, hearing his voice made it seem like real graduation. And I know we recognized him, I believe, last meeting or the meeting before that for getting a Golden Apple Award. But having him there, graduation was priceless. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Neill. Mrs. Shorter?
Yes, I just want to echo everybody's comments and just thank you. Thank you so much. My senior graduated, and I can tell you that I don't feel like we missed out on anything. It was so very good. And thank you, Mrs. Gundrum, for mentioning Arnita and her effort with the flags. That was great. We took some great pictures out there. I'm very grateful for everything that everybody did. It felt wonderful. I was able to be there to see my little neighborhood kids and a lot of other kids too. And I tell you, I was so pleased and proud. These kids have made the most out of the situation. And I think with the administration, everything that you guys did to make graduation special was just amazing. I mean, Mr. Braun was out there taking pictures for forever in the hot sun. And just everything that the high school staff did. Billy and Mr. Rice, you guys were there all day, all day for 4 days. And I know you were tired because I was out there too, and it was hot. But it was absolutely awesome. Something else that took place is the Adopt a Senior program this year. I just want to thank the organizers of that. And I want to thank all of the parents that took the time to adopt a senior. It was great. The looks on the faces of the kids, we had a little Facebook group and all the kids would post their pictures and their bag of loot. And I can tell you, it was phenomenal. This community, it just keeps impressing me. You know, every time the community, you know, the schools, the parents, every time we're asked to step up, it happens, and it happens in a big fashion. And I can't say thank you enough. It really meant a lot. It really meant a lot. So, oh, and also welcome to Mrs. Wellman, and congratulations to Mr. Sanders for moving over to the high school. But it was just great. I'm very, very pleased, very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shorter. Yeah, I was so very impressed with everyone involved with the graduation ceremonies at the arena and at the stadium. I didn't hear one negative comment from anybody that was associated with that. All the students were so very happy. All the parents were and grandparents were happy. Each station, the people at those stations made sure that the parents were ready to take the photos and that the students were ready to hear their name called. I mean, every detail was thought of. And I agree, Mr. Smith and Mr. Rice standing out there with their regalia for all those hours in the hot sun with very little breaks. Mr. Massey reading off all those names. It made me feel very proud to be part of this community and this organization, that people put so much time and effort and thought into making sure that the seniors had something to remember. And it was more personal for them than the graduation at Cintas. You know, they had more time to be celebrated as opposed to just a really short reading of their name followed by the next person's name immediately. Yeah, it was different, but again, I think they really got something out of it. Also want to thank Mrs. O'Neill and Mrs. Shorter for spending so much time for other students. I know that you got to greet many students come across the stage, and that you had personal moments with some of your neighbors and some of your friends, children as well. And it meant a lot to me to see you get that interaction. So thank you for participating in that. Also, I didn't have a chance to say thank you to Mrs. Mott when I saw her at the stadium, and because things weren't finalized yet with where she was going, and I didn't want to jinx it, or if it was the cat still wasn't out of the bag, I didn't want to say anything to her, but she has done a lot for our students, and I do wish her well. I am excited for seeing Mr. Sanders come over to the high school and what influence he's had on the students now, and what he could bring to the young men at the senior high school. And I hope that he continues the programs that he's got in place. So I wish everybody a happy summer. Thank you, parents, for sticking it out through those last days of school. Thank you to all the volunteers that continue every Monday to pass out food to the neediest families. the smiles on their faces when they pull their car up and they're loaded with a week's worth of lunches for their students. It's just great to see. And we continue to have volunteers come out to help do that. So thank you to all those volunteers. So with that being said, there is a need to recess to executive session to discuss the employment of public employees, ORC 121.22G1, and collective bargaining, 121.22G4. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to convene to executive session.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I heard Mrs. O'Neill and Mrs. Gundrum. Any questions or comments? I do not anticipate any action to take place following executive sessions. Mrs. Lane, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mrs. Gundrum,
Yes.
Mrs. Shorter,
Yes. Yes. Sorry.
Mr. Bagley,
Yes.
and Mr. Birding.
Yes. Motion carries. We recess to executive session at 8:39 p.m. Thank you all very much for joining us tonight. And thank you, special thank you to Mrs. Gentry Fletcher for being our note taker tonight. And she did a great job. And her spelling's pretty good. We followed her on our computer screen. So thank you again, Mrs. Gentry Fletcher. Good night, everyone.